It was supposed to be a simple expedition. Challenging, yes, but nothing these young adventurers couldn't handle. They were students from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, experienced hikers, driven by ambition and youth. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, was only 23 years old, but his discipline, intelligence, and calm leadership inspired everyone around him. On January 23, 1959, the group of 9 gathered their gear, their hopes, and their courage, ready to conquer the snow-covered peaks of the Ural Mountains in the Soviet Union. They posed for photos, smiling, laughing, unaware that those snapshots would become the last living memories of them the world would ever see. The route they chose was rated Category 3, the most difficult. But they were ready. Each of them had completed similar expeditions before. They had trained for this. Their plan was to reach Mount Torton, a peak whose name in the language of the local Mansi people ominously meant, "Don't go there." Yet they went anyway. For days, the group trudged through deep snow, their spirits high despite the brutal cold that cut through their layers of clothing. They kept diaries filled with jokes, songs, and optimism. In their photos, you can see the laughter in their eyes, the kind of joy only people who love the wilderness can know. They set up camp, cooked, played games. The cold didn't scare them. It was part of the adventure. But as the days passed, the weather worsened. Temperatures dropped below -30 degrees Celsius. Winds howled through the valleys. On February 1st, they reached the slope of Kolachakal, another name from the Mansi language meaning Mountain of the Dead. They decided to set up camp there on the open slope, instead of moving downhill into the forest for better shelter. No one knows exactly why. Some say Dyatlov wanted to practice camping on the slope for future expeditions. Others believe they simply lost daylight and stopped where they were. Whatever the reason, it was a decision that would mark the beginning of a nightmare. When the group failed to return as scheduled, search teams were sent out. At first, rescuers expected to find the hikers delayed by weather. But when they reached the camp, what they discovered made no sense. The tent was found half buried in snow, slashed open from the inside. Inside, the hikers' belongings were still there. Clothes, boots, food, even money. Everything was untouched, as if they had fled in the middle of the night. But fled from what? Barefoot footprints led away from the tent, scattered in all directions, some made by socks, others by bare feet. They stretched down the slope toward the forest, and then disappeared under the snow. Something had terrified them so completely that they ran into a blizzard half-dressed in sub-zero temperatures. It defied logic. The rescuers followed the footprints to the edge of the forest. There, beneath a tall cedar tree, they found the remains of a small fire and the first 2 bodies. Both were barefoot, wearing only underwear. Their hands were burned as if they had tried to climb the tree to escape something or to find warmth near the fire. Broken branches above them showed signs of struggle. Their bodies told a story of desperation. The search continued for weeks, uncovering more bodies one by one, scattered across the slope. Some were found clutching each other in the snow. Others appeared to have been crawling back toward the tent when they died. But it was the last 4 bodies that deepened the mystery beyond comprehension. They were discovered months later, buried under several meters of snow in a ravine. Unlike the others, these bodies showed massive internal injuries, crushed ribs, shattered skulls, yet with no external wounds. It was as if the force that killed them came from within, not from a fall or an attack. One woman was missing her tongue and eyes. Another had her head twisted unnaturally. One had radiation on his clothing. The official autopsy reports described their deaths as caused by a compelling natural force, a phrase that only raised more questions than it answered. Rumors began to spread. Whispers of military experiments, secret weapons, UFOs, or even creatures from folklore. Locals spoke of strange orange spheres seen glowing in the sky the same night the hikers died. Others said there were tracks, not human, found near the site. The Soviet authorities quickly sealed the area, forbidding anyone from entering for years. Files were classified, reports were edited, and details vanished. The world was left to wonder, what really happened that night on Kolachakal? Every theory seemed more unbelievable than the last, yet none could explain every detail. Some said the hikers were victims of an avalanche, but there were no clear signs of one. The slope was too shallow, the tent still visible. Others argued that military testing caused shockwaves that led to panic. But why were there no burn marks on the tent? And what about the missing tongue, the broken ribs, the strange orange light? Every explanation uncovered more contradictions. As investigators tried to piece together the final hours of the group, they turned to the hikers' diaries. The last entries were hauntingly ordinary. One of the final notes read, "The weather is bad, the wind is strong, but we are cheerful." Another said, "Tomorrow, we will reach our goal." There was no sign of fear, no mention of anything unusual. It was as if the terror came without warning, sudden, silent, and absolute. The more they searched for answers, the deeper the mystery became. Why did they cut their tent open from the inside? What did they see that made them run into a storm barefoot? Why were their injuries so inconsistent? Some dying of exposure, others crushed as if by invisible force. And why did the Soviet Union close the case so abruptly, labeling it a natural disaster with no further investigation? Even today, over 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries in modern history. Researchers, scientists, and conspiracy theorists have pored over the evidence for decades, yet the answers remain elusive. Each year, new theories emerge, claiming to finally explain what happened. From secret weapons tests, to infrasound waves causing mass panic, to alien encounters and even Yeti attacks. But the truth, perhaps, lies somewhere in between. Something happened on that mountain that night. Something powerful, something terrifying, something that left 9 experienced hikers running barefoot into certain death. The more the investigators looked, the stranger the details became. The injuries did not match any known natural cause. The bodies were found at different distances from the tent, as if some had tried to flee while others had turned back to help their friends. One of the hikers, Rustem Slobodin, was found face down in the snow, showing signs of blunt force trauma to the head, as though he had been struck. Yet there was no sign of an attacker. Another, Zina Kolmogorova, had bruises on her arms and legs, suggesting she fought against something. But who, or what, was she fighting? The strangest wounds were found on Lyudmila Dubinina. Her ribs were crushed inward, and her tongue and eyes were missing. The coroner couldn't explain it. Animals scavenging? Or something else entirely? Then came the radiation. 2 of the hikers' clothes emitted abnormal levels of radiation. Why? None of them worked in nuclear facilities. None of them were near a reactor. The military denied involvement, but their silence spoke volumes. The case files were sealed by the Soviet government, hidden from the public for decades. Families were told little. Mothers buried empty coffins, never knowing exactly what had happened to their children. Whispers circulated in closed rooms, stories of cover-ups, secret experiments, and forbidden truths. The mountain itself became taboo, a place where even locals hesitated to go. They said the spirits of the 9 hikers still roamed the slopes, lost in an eternal storm. Over the years, new expeditions went to the site, hoping to uncover something new. Some came back with pieces of evidence, scraps of metal, strange burn marks on rocks, reports of glowing lights in the night sky, phenomena that defied easy explanation. Others left only with more questions. It was as though the mountain itself refused to give up its secret. In 2013, new photographs surfaced from the hikers' own cameras, grainy black and white images taken the night they died. One photo showed strange glowing orbs above the tree line. Some said they were simply light leaks or camera artifacts. Others believed they captured something more sinister, perhaps the same orange lights witnesses reported seeing that night. Then in 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case. After 60 years of silence, they promised new answers. But the conclusion they gave only deepened the mystery. The official explanation, an avalanche, a slab avalanche, they said, caused the tent to collapse and forced the hikers to flee into the cold. Yet experts quickly pointed out the flaws. There was no evidence of snow displacement, no broken tent poles, no suffocating snow layer found at the site. The theory fit neatly into bureaucratic language but fell apart under scrutiny. Once again, the truth was buried beneath layers of snow and politics. Still, the story of the Dyatlov Pass incident refuses to die. People around the world continue to study the photos, analyze the autopsy reports, and debate the clues. Some believe it was a secret military test gone wrong, missiles, parachute mines, or chemical exposure that disoriented the hikers. Others say infrasound, low-frequency vibrations created by wind, caused panic and hallucinations, driving the group to flee in terror. A few even whisper of alien encounters drawn from the eerie lights seen above the mountains that night. And then there are those who turn to the ancient legends of the Mansi people, who long ago warned, the mountain is cursed. They believed that those who entered it with arrogance or disrespect would never leave. Maybe that warning wasn't superstition at all. Maybe it was memory. But beyond theories and speculation, there's something hauntingly human about the Dyatlov Pass story. 9 young people, full of life and promise, perished in the wilderness, far from home, in a place where the wind howls like voices of the past. Their names, Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, Lyudmila Dubinina, Rustem Slobodin, Yuri Doroshenko, Yuri Krivonishenko, Alexander Kolovatov, Semyon Zolotaryov, and Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, should be remembered not just as victims, but as people. Friends, students, dreamers. Their laughter once echoed in the same valleys that now echo with silence. They wrote songs around a campfire. They joked about the cold. They planned their return. None of them imagined that history would know them only through horror. What happened that night on the mountain may never be fully understood. Perhaps they heard something, an explosion, a roar, a sound from the sky, that made them panic. Perhaps the ground beneath them shifted. Perhaps the cold drove them mad. Or perhaps something entirely beyond human understanding occurred. Something the mountain still keeps for itself. The truth, whatever it is, remains buried beneath decades of snow and silence. And maybe some mysteries are meant to stay that way. Maybe the mountain does not want to be understood. Standing today at Dyatlov Pass, the landscape remains eerily unchanged. The wind cuts through the trees the same way it did in 1959. The snow stretches endlessly, white and silent. There is no sound except for the hum of the wind. No sign of the 9 lives lost, except a simple memorial, a weathered stone engraved with their names. Visitors leave flowers there, frozen in the snow. Some say if you stand there long enough, you can feel something, an energy, a presence, as though the mountain remembers. Maybe it's the echo of their last footsteps. Maybe it's the sound of unanswered questions. Or maybe it's a warning to anyone who dares to chase the unknown too far. And yet, people keep coming. Every year, new hikers retrace the same route, hoping to find what was lost. Some do it out of respect, others out of obsession. But the mountain never speaks, it only watches. It has seen everything, the laughter, the fear, the last breaths, and it will see everything again. The Dyatlov Pass remains frozen in time, suspended between truth and myth. The files have been reopened and closed again. The theories rise and fall, but the silence of the Ural Mountains endures. The cold wind that blew that night still whispers across the slopes. It whispers the same haunting question that no one has ever been able to answer. What really happened here? Maybe one day the truth will come to light. Or maybe it already has, hidden in plain sight, disguised as coincidence and reason. Perhaps we've been looking for evidence when what we should be looking for is understanding. Because sometimes the scariest part of a mystery is not what we don't know. It's realizing that we might never know. The mountain holds its secrets close, and the snow covers everything, even the truth. As night falls over Dyatlov Pass and the stars pierce the freezing sky, the world below remains still. Somewhere beneath that snow, the echoes of 9 lives sleep in eternal silence. Their story continues not through answers, but through the unease they left behind. The Dyatlov Pass incident is not just a mystery, it's a reminder of how fragile we are in the face of nature, of fear, and of the unknown. The